Listen carefully. This is the real reason you can't speak English. Not grammar, not vocabulary, not confidence. It's something happening silently, inside your mind. Every time you try to speak, you don't speak in English. You pause. You take your idea. You convert it into your native language. Then you search for English words. Then you rearrange them. Then you check if it's correct. And by the time you're ready to speak, the moment is gone. The conversation has moved on. And you're left with silence. This is not a speaking problem. This is a thinking problem. You are trying to run two languages at the same time, and your brain cannot keep up. That's why you feel slow. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you lose confidence. Because fluency is not about how much you know. It's about how fast you can think. Now here's the truth most people don't tell you. Fluent speakers don't translate. They don't stop and build sentences in their head. They think directly in English. Simple, immediate, natural. And this is where the pattern changes everything. Instead of translating full sentences, you start with something small, something instant, something automatic. That's it. No pressure, no complexity, just I am. And now your brain doesn't need to search anymore. It just continues. I am sitting. I am watching. I am trying to understand. You see what's happening? You didn't translate that. You didn't struggle. You just spoke. Because this pattern removes the biggest barrier, overthinking. It gives your brain a shortcut, a direct path from thought to speech. So instead of saying, how do I say this correctly? You say, I am explaining, I am thinking, I am speaking, and suddenly, you're not stuck anymore. You're moving, you're expressing, you're communicating. And that's where fluency begins. Not in perfect sentences, but in continuous flow. So from today, change one habit. Don't translate. Even if your English feels simple, even if it feels broken, say it anyway. I am learning. I am trying. I am speaking. Because every time you do this, you are training your brain to think in English. And once your brain changes, everything changes. Let me tell you something honestly. You are waiting too much. Waiting to feel confident. Waiting to know more words. Waiting to be perfect. And because of that, you are not speaking. You keep telling yourself, I'll start speaking when I'm ready. But the truth is, that moment will never come. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you build. And it only comes from one place. Action. Right now, there are people who know less English than you. Less vocabulary. Less grammar. Less understanding. But they speak. They make mistakes. They hesitate. They struggle. But they still speak. And because of that, they improve faster than you. Why? Because they didn't wait. They started before they felt ready. And that is the shift you need to make. Because every time you stay silent, you are training your brain to avoid speaking. You are building a habit of fear. But every time you speak, even if it's broken, even if it's slow, even if it's not perfect, you are building courage. You are building fluency. You are building confidence. So instead of waiting, start now. Use the pattern. I am trying to speak. I am learning step by step. I am not perfect, but I am speaking. Do you feel the difference? You are no longer hiding. You are moving. And that movement, that action, that imperfect speaking, is what creates real progress. Because fluency is not built in your mind. It is built through your voice. So, from today, make one decision. You will speak. Before you feel ready, not after. Because the moment you stop waiting, you start growing. And one day, without even realizing it, you will speak with confidence. Not because you waited, but because you started. Let's be honest. You already know enough English to speak. But you don't speak. Why? Because, in your mind, simple is not good enough. You don't want to say something basic. You don't want to sound weak. You don't want to make a mistake. So instead of speaking simply, you stay silent. You wait for the perfect word, the perfect sentence, the perfect grammar. And while you're searching, the moment disappears. This is the trap. You are not struggling because your English is weak. You are struggling because your expectations are too high. You think fluent English means using big words. But that's not true. Fluent English is simple, clear, direct, natural. Look at real conversations. People don't speak like textbooks. They say, "I feel tired. I don't understand. I need help." Simple words, but powerful communication. Now think about your own mind. You might want to say something like, "I am experiencing mental exhaustion due to excessive workload," but your brain gets stuck. Instead, just say, "I am very tired." Same meaning, faster delivery, real communication. Do you see the shift? Fluency is not about sounding impressive. It's about being understood. And simple words help you move faster. They remove pressure. They remove hesitation. They allow your thoughts to flow. So instead of asking, "What is the best word?" ask, "What is the easiest way to say this?" Then use the pattern. "I am feeling tired. I am trying to explain. I am not understanding." Even if it feels basic, say it, because simple English spoken confidently is more powerful than perfect English never spoken. And here's what happens over time. When you start speaking simply, you start speaking more. When you speak more, you gain confidence. And when you gain confidence, your English naturally improves. Without pressure, without fear, without overthinking. So from today, let go of perfection. Choose simplicity. Say what you can with the words you have right now. Because fluency doesn't start with big words. It starts with simple ones, spoken without fear. Let me ask you something honestly. Why do you understand English, but still struggle to speak it? You've watched videos. You've learned grammar. You've memorized words. But when it's time to speak, it still feels difficult, still slow, still unnatural. Why? Because knowing something is not the same as using it. And this is where most learners fail. They learn once, but they don't repeat. They understand, but they don't practice. They watch, but they don't speak. And without repetition, nothing becomes natural. Listen carefully. Fluency is not built through knowledge. Fluency is built through repetition. Not once, not twice, but again and again and again, until your brain stops thinking and starts responding automatically. Think about how you learned your first language. Did you study grammar rules? No. You heard the same patterns every day. You repeated the same structures again and again. I am going, I am eating, I am playing. At first, it was slow, unclear, imperfect. But over time, it became natural, automatic, effortless. Why? Because of repetition. Now here's the problem. When you learn English as an adult, you try to understand everything first. You want clarity. You want rules. You want perfection. But you forget the most important thing. Your brain learns through repetition, not explanation. You don't need to understand more. You need to repeat more. And that's why this pattern is so powerful. I am plus action plus extra. It is simple, flexible, natural, real, and most importantly, it is easy to repeat. So instead of learning 50 different structures, focus on one and repeat it daily. Morning. I am waking up. I am getting ready. I am starting my day. Afternoon. I am working. I am learning. I am improving. Evening. I am feeling tired. I am relaxing. I am thinking about my day. Do you see what's happening? You are not forcing English anymore. You are living in it. You are using it in real time. And this daily repetition starts to reprogram your mind. At first, it will feel strange. You will forget words. You will hesitate. You will feel slow. But if you keep going, something changes. Your brain starts recognizing the pattern. It becomes easier to continue. You stop thinking about how to start because you already know. I am That beginning becomes automatic. And once the beginning is automatic, the rest follows naturally. This is how fluency grows. Not in big jumps, but in small, repeated actions. Now, here's something important most people ignore. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. You don't need to practice for 5 hours one day and then stop for a week. That doesn't work. Your brain needs daily exposure, daily repetition. Even 60 minutes, done every day, is more powerful than long sessions done rarely, because repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds confidence, and confidence builds fluency. So don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for motivation. Create a simple routine. Speak 10 sentences every day, out loud, using the same pattern. I am learning. I am practicing. I am improving. It may feel small. It may feel simple, but don't underestimate it, because these small repetitions are quietly building something powerful. They are building speed. They are building flow. They are building automatic thinking. And one day, you will notice something strange. You will start speaking without translating, without stopping, without fear, and you won't even realize when it happened, because it didn't happen in one moment. It happened through repetition, through consistency, through daily practice. So from today, stop searching for new methods. Stop jumping from one technique to another. Choose one pattern and repeat it every day. No excuse, no overthinking, just action. Because fluency is not something you discover. It is something you build. And you build it, one sentence at a time. Let's face something honestly. You've learned a lot of English sentences. Sentences about airports, about hotels, about situations you rarely experience. You've memorized phrases like, "Excuse me, where is the nearest train station? I would like to book a reservation." But in your real life, you're not at an airport. You're not booking hotels every day. You're sitting in your room. You're using your phone. You're living your normal life. And when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. Why? Because you trained your English for a life you're not living. This is one of the biggest mistakes learners make. They study English in a disconnected way. They learn random sentences, but they don't connect them to their reality. And without connection, there is no fluency. Because fluency is not about knowing English. It's about using English in your life. Now imagine this instead. You wake up in the morning, and instead of thinking in your native language, you say, "I am waking up. I am feeling sleepy. I am going to brush my teeth." Simple, real, immediate. Now you're not memorizing anymore. You're describing your life. You're turning your daily routine into English practice. You pick up your phone. I am checking my messages. I am watching a video. I am scrolling. You sit down to eat. I am eating food. I am feeling hungry. I am enjoying this. Do you see the difference? This is not textbook English. This is living English. And when you practice this way, something powerful happens. Your brain stops treating English like a subject and starts treating it like a tool you use every day, a tool that becomes natural. Because now, English is connected to your actions, your emotions, your reality, and that connection makes learning faster, stronger, more permanent, because your brain remembers what is real, not what is memorized. Now here's another truth. When you speak about your real life, you never run out of things to say, because your life is always happening. You are always doing something, always feeling something, always thinking something, and every moment becomes an opportunity to practice. No need for special time, no need for perfect conditions, just awareness, just a small shift. Instead of asking, "What should I practice today?" ask, "What am I doing right now?" And then say it in English. I am sitting. I am thinking. I am learning. This is how you build natural fluency, not by forcing language, but by attaching it to your life. Now let's go deeper. Why does this method work so powerfully? Because it removes pressure. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to sound perfect. You're just describing what is already happening. And that makes speaking easier, more relaxed, more natural. And when you feel relaxed, your brain performs better. Your words come faster. Your confidence increases. This is why some people speak better when they are alone. Because there is no pressure, no judgment, just flow. And that's exactly what you're creating here. A safe space where you can practice freely, where you can speak without fear, where you can build your voice. Now imagine doing this every day, morning to night. Small sentences, simple thoughts, connected to your life. Day after day, your brain starts changing. You no longer pause to think, how do I say this? You just say it, because you've said similar things before, again and again, through real-life repetition. And this is where fluency becomes automatic, not forced, not memorized, but natural. So from today, stop practicing English like a subject. Start living it. Turn your life into your classroom, your actions into sentences, your thoughts into speech. Because the more your English reflects your real life, the faster it becomes part of you. And once it becomes part of you, you won't need to try anymore. You will just speak. Let's talk about the one thing that is silently controlling you. The one thing that stops you, freezes you, keeps you quiet. Fear of mistakes. Not grammar, not vocabulary. Fear. You don't speak. Not because you can't. You don't speak because you're afraid of being wrong. Afraid of saying the wrong word. Afraid of using the wrong tense. Afraid that someone will judge you or think you're not good enough. So what do? You stay silent. You wait. You overthink every sentence. You try to make it perfect before you say it. And because of that, you don't say anything at all. This is the real trap. You believe mistakes are the problem. But the truth is, avoiding mistakes is the problem. Because every time you avoid speaking, you are not protecting yourself. You are stopping your progress. You are choosing comfort over growth. Now think about this. How did you learn your first language? Did you speak perfectly from the beginning? No. You made mistakes. Thousands of them. You said words wrong. You used sentences incorrectly. You confused meanings. And nobody expected you to be perfect. Because mistakes were part of learning. So why is English different? Why do you expect perfection from yourself now? Why do you judge yourself so harshly? The truth is, you're not afraid of mistakes. You're afraid of judgment. But here's something you need to understand clearly. Most people are not judging you. And even if they are, it doesn't matter. Because they are not building your future. You are. And your future depends on one thing. Action. Not perfection. Action. Now, here's the shift you need to make. Instead of thinking, I don't want to make mistakes, start thinking, I am learning through mistakes. Say it. I am making mistakes, and I am improving. Because every mistake you make is feedback. It shows you what to fix. It shows you what to learn. It pushes you forward. But if you don't make mistakes, you don't get feedback. You don't grow. You stay stuck. Now imagine two learners. One stays silent, waiting to be perfect. The other speaks, makes mistakes, keeps going. After 30 days, who do you think improves more? The one who acted. Always. Because fluency is not built by avoiding errors. It is built by using language, again and again, imperfectly. Now let's go deeper. Why do mistakes feel so uncomfortable? Because your mind is trying to protect your identity. You don't want to look bad. You don't want to feel embarrassed. But growth always feels uncomfortable. Every new skill feels awkward at the beginning. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you fall. You lose balance. You feel unsure. But if you stop because of that, you never learn. The same applies here. Speaking English is a skill. And like any skill, it requires practice. It requires repetition. And yes, it requires mistakes. Now here's something powerful most people don't realize. Every fluent speaker you admire made thousands of mistakes. They just didn't stop. They kept going. They didn't let fear control them. And that's why they improved. So from today, make a new rule for yourself. You are allowed to make mistakes. In fact, you are expected to. Because that means you are trying. That means you are moving. That means you are growing. Use the pattern. I am trying to speak. I am learning step by step. I am not perfect, but I am improving. Feel that? That's confidence. Not because you are perfect, but because you are fearless. And once fear disappears, fluency begins. Because your voice becomes free. Your thoughts start flowing. Your hesitation disappears. And speaking becomes natural. So don't run from mistakes. Don't hide from them. Walk toward them. Use them. Learn from them. Because every mistake is one step closer to fluency. There is a silent habit inside your mind. A habit that feels intelligent, but is actually slowing you down. Every time you try to speak English, you don't just speak. You start analyzing. You think about grammar. You think about sentence structure. You think about tenses. You think about whether it's correct or not. And while you're thinking, you stop speaking. This is the hidden problem. You are not thinking in English. You are thinking about English. And that one difference is the reason you feel stuck. Because real fluency is not built through analysis. It is built through flow. Now imagine this moment. Someone asks you a simple question. What are you doing? You know the answer. It's easy. But instead of replying instantly, your brain starts working like this. Okay, what tense should I use? Is it present continuous? Should I say I do or I am doing? Is this sentence correct? And suddenly, a simple answer becomes difficult. Not because you don't know, but because you are overthinking. You turned a natural response into a mental problem. And that's why your speech feels slow, broken, unnatural. Now here's the truth you need to understand. Fluent speakers don't analyze while speaking. They don't stop to check grammar rules. They don't build sentences step by step. They think, and the words come out naturally, effortlessly. Why? Because they train their brain to respond, not analyze. And this is exactly what you need to do. Shift from thinking about English to thinking in English. Now you might be asking, how do I do that? Simple. You reduce complexity. You remove pressure. You stop trying to be perfect. And you start using simple, direct thoughts. Use the pattern. I am. That's your starting point. From there, let your mind continue naturally. I am sitting. I am listening. I am trying to understand. Notice something. You didn't stop to think about grammar. You didn't analyze the sentence. You just followed the thought. That's thinking in English. It's simple, immediate, real. Now let's go deeper. Why do you overthink in the first place? Because you've been trained to focus on rules. In school, you learned English as a subject. You were taught to be correct, to avoid mistakes, to follow structure. And that created a habit of checking everything before speaking. But real communication doesn't work like that. When you speak your native language, you don't think about grammar. You don't analyze sentence structure. You just speak. Because your brain is used to it. Because it's automatic. And that's exactly what you need to build in English. Automatic thinking. Not perfect thinking. Automatic. Now here's something powerful. Speed comes from simplicity. The more you simplify your thoughts, the faster you can express them. So instead of thinking complex ideas, break them down. Instead of saying, I am attempting to improve my linguistic abilities, say, I am trying to improve my English. Short, clear, natural, and most importantly, fast. Because speed is what creates flow, and flow is what creates confidence. Now imagine this shift happening in your life. You stop analyzing. You stop checking. You stop overthinking. And you just respond. Someone speaks to you, and you answer without fear, without delay, without hesitation. Not perfectly, but naturally. That's fluency. Not perfect grammar, but continuous expression. Now here's the practice you need to follow. Every day, train your mind to think in English. Even when you're alone, even when you're silent, look around you and describe what's happening. I am sitting here. I am holding my phone. I am watching this video. Keep it simple. Keep it real. Don't stop. Don't analyze. Just flow. At first, it will feel strange. Your mind will try to go back to your native language. It will try to translate. It will try to control everything. But don't fight it. Just bring it back. Again and again. I am thinking. I am practicing. I am improving. And slowly, your brain will adapt. It will stop translating. It will stop analyzing. It will start responding. And one day, you will notice something powerful. You will speak. Without thinking about how to speak, your words will come out naturally. Your sentences will flow. Your confidence will rise. And you will realize you are no longer thinking about English. You are thinking in English. So from today, let go of overthinking. Let go of perfection. Let go of analysis. And trust the process. Because fluency is not built in your mind. It is built in your flow. And that flow begins the moment you stop thinking about English and start living it. There is a hidden battle happening inside your mind, and you don't even notice it. Every time you try to speak English, two voices appear. One says, "Just say it." The other says, "Wait, is this correct?" And almost every time, the second voice wins. That is the moment you lose your fluency. Not because you don't know English, but because you don't trust it. You don't trust your thoughts. You don't trust your voice. So you pause. You check. You hesitate. And in that hesitation, your confidence disappears. This is the real problem. You are not speaking to communicate. You are speaking to avoid being wrong. And that changes everything. Because when your goal is correctness, you slow down. But when your goal is expression, you move. Now listen carefully. Fluency is not about thinking correctly. Fluency is about thinking freely. There is a huge difference. When you think correctly, you analyze, you filter, you control every word. But when you think freely, you allow your thoughts to flow, even if they are imperfect, even if they are simple, even if they are not perfect English. And that flow, that natural movement of thought, is what creates real speaking ability. Now let me show you something powerful. Right now, if I ask you, "What are you doing?" you already know the answer. You don't need grammar for that. You don't need rules. You don't need translation. You just need to respond. But your mind interrupts. It says, "Wait. Choose the right tense. Make it correct. Don't make a mistake." And suddenly, a simple answer becomes heavy, difficult, slow. This is what thinking about English does. It turns communication into pressure. Now imagine removing that pressure. Imagine you hear the question, and you just say, "I am watching. I am learning. I am listening." No pause. No checking. No fear. That is thinking in English. And that is where fluency lives. Now here's something most learners never realize. Your brain doesn't need more rules. It needs more trust, because the words are already inside you. You've heard them. You've learned them. You've practiced them. But you don't trust them enough to use them freely. So you hold back. And that hesitation becomes your habit. But habits can change. And it starts with one decision. You will stop controlling every sentence. And you will start allowing your thoughts to move. Use the pattern. I am. This is your anchor. Your starting point. Your safety. From here, you don't think. You continue. I am trying to explain. I am feeling confused. I am understanding slowly. Notice what you're doing. You're not building sentences. You're continuing thoughts. That's the shift. From construction to continuation. From pressure to flow. And once you enter that flow, something powerful happens. Your brain relaxes. Your words come faster. Your fear reduces. And your confidence grows. Not because you became perfect, but because you became natural. Now let's go deeper again. Why is thinking in English so important? Because translation is slow. It creates delay. It breaks rhythm. It disconnects you from the moment. But thinking in English is instant. It keeps you present. It keeps you engaged. It keeps the conversation alive. And fluency is not about knowing everything. It's about staying in the moment, responding in real time, without losing connection. Now imagine yourself in a real conversation. Someone is speaking to you. Before, you would panic. You would think, what should I say? How do I say it? Is this correct? And you would freeze. But now, you respond differently. You hear, you feel, you speak. I am listening. I am trying to understand. I am answering. Not perfect, but real. And that's what people connect with. Not perfection, but presence. Now here's the final truth you need to accept. You don't become fluent by thinking more. You become fluent by thinking less and speaking more. So from today, let go of control. Let go of perfection. Let go of overthinking. And trust your mind. Trust your voice. Trust the process. Because the moment you stop thinking about English and start thinking in it, you don't just improve, you transform. And that transformation is the beginning of real fluency. Let me tell you something most English learners don't want to hear. You cannot become fluent in English by staying silent. You can watch videos for hours. You can understand everything. You can learn grammar, memorize words. But if your mouth stays closed, your English stays locked. This is the truth. Fluency is not just a mental skill. It is a physical skill. It lives in your voice, in your mouth, in your pronunciation, in your ability to turn thoughts into sound. And just like any physical skill, if you don't use it, you don't develop it. Think about it. A person can understand music perfectly, but if they never sing, they will never become a singer. A person can study driving rules, but if they never drive, they will never feel comfortable on the road. The same applies here. You may understand English, but until you use your voice, you will not feel fluent. Now here's the real problem. You avoid speaking, not because you don't want to, but because it feels uncomfortable. You feel shy. You feel unsure. You feel like your voice doesn't sound right. So you choose silence. You tell yourself, I'll practice later. I'll speak when I'm more confident. But listen carefully. Confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes because of speaking. Every time you speak, you are training your voice. You are building muscle memory. You are making English feel more natural. But every time you stay silent, you are training hesitation. You are strengthening fear. So the question is simple. What are you practicing every day? Silence or speech? Because whatever you repeat becomes your habit. Now let's shift something inside you. Stop seeing speaking as something big, something scary, something you need to be ready for. Instead, make it small. Make it simple. Make it daily. You don't need a partner. You don't need a classroom. You don't need perfect sentences. You just need your voice. Start with the pattern. I am, and speak. Out loud. Not in your mind. Out loud. I am sitting here. I am watching this video. I am trying to speak clearly. Feel your voice. Hear your words. This is where real progress begins. Now you might think, but I'm alone. What's the point? The point is training, because your brain doesn't care if someone is listening. It only cares about repetition. Every time you speak out loud, you are building a connection. Thought, voice, sound. And the more you repeat that connection, the faster it becomes, the smoother it becomes, the more natural it becomes. This is how fluency is built, not in silence, but in sound. Now imagine this. At first, your voice feels weak, uncertain, slow. You hesitate. You pause, but you keep going. Day after day, sentence after sentence. And slowly, your voice becomes stronger, clearer, more confident. You stop feeling strange. You stop feeling shy because speaking becomes normal. And when something becomes normal, it becomes easy. Now here's something powerful. Your voice carries your confidence, not your grammar, not your vocabulary. Your voice. If your voice is steady, people feel your confidence. If your voice is clear, people understand you. If your voice is active, you feel in control. That's why daily speaking is not optional. It is essential. Now let's go deeper. Why do many learners stay stuck for years? Because they stay passive. They listen, but they don't respond. They watch, but they don't practice. They understand, but they don't express. And without expression, there is no fluency. So from today, change your role. Don't be just a listener. Become a speaker. Even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, that's enough to start. Speak about your life. Speak about your thoughts. Speak about what you see. I am opening my phone. I am thinking about my future. I am practicing my English. Simple, real, powerful. And over time, this daily habit becomes your strength. Because when the moment comes, when you need to speak to someone, you won't freeze. You won't panic. Because your voice is already trained. You've already spoken hundreds of sentences. You've already built the habit. And that habit will support you. Now here's the final truth. Fluency is not something you learn quietly. It is something you build loudly. Through your voice. Through your sound. Through your daily speaking. So don't wait. Don't overthink. Don't stay silent. Use your voice, even if it's imperfect. Even if it's slow. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Because every word you speak is breaking the barrier. Every sentence you say is building your confidence. And every day you practice is bringing you closer to speaking English naturally, effortlessly, freely. Let's be honest with yourself for a moment. You don't lack ability. You lack belief. Somewhere inside you, there is a quiet voice that says, "My English is not good enough. I can't speak like others. I will make mistakes." And because of that voice, you hold yourself back. You stay quiet. You hesitate. You doubt every word before you say it. But here's the truth you need to face. Confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is something you build. And it is not built in big moments. It is built in small wins. Now listen carefully. Most learners make a critical mistake. They try to jump too far, too fast. They want to speak long sentences immediately. They want to sound fluent instantly. They want everything to be perfect right now. And when they can't do it, they feel disappointed. They lose motivation. They stop trying. But the problem is not your ability. The problem is your approach. You are ignoring the power of small progress. Because real growth doesn't happen in big steps. It happens in small, consistent wins. Now imagine this instead. You don't try to speak perfectly. You don't try to impress anyone. You just say one simple sentence. I am learning. That's it. Small, simple, but powerful. Because you did something. You spoke. That's your first win. Then you say another. I am trying to improve. Second win. Then another. I am speaking more today. Third win. Now something is changing. You are not stuck anymore. You are moving. And every small sentence is building something inside you. Confidence. Because confidence grows from proof. And every time you speak, you are proving to yourself, I can do this. Now let's go deeper. Why do small wins matter so much? Because your brain is always watching your actions. Every time you succeed, even in a small way, your brain records it. It says, this is possible. And the more times you repeat that experience, the stronger that belief becomes. But if you aim too high and fail repeatedly, your brain records something else. This is difficult. This is not for me. And that belief becomes your limit. So the goal is simple. Make success easy. Make progress achievable. Make speaking feel possible. That's why small wins are powerful. They remove pressure. They remove fear. They create momentum. And momentum is what leads to fluency. Now imagine this pattern in your daily life. You wake up, and instead of saying nothing, you say, I am waking up. Small win. You sit down. I am sitting. Another win. You pick up your phone. I am using my phone. Another win. These may feel simple, almost too simple, but don't underestimate them, because you are building a habit of speaking, a habit of expressing, a habit of using English naturally. And that habit is more important than perfection. Now, something important happens when you collect small wins. Your fear starts to disappear, because fear comes from uncertainty, from doubt, from thinking, what if I fail? But when you succeed again and again, even in small ways, that fear loses its power. You start thinking, I've done this before. I can do it again. And that belief changes everything. Now you don't hesitate as much. You don't overthink as much. You don't stay silent as much, because you trust yourself more. And that trust is real confidence, not fake motivation, not temporary excitement, but deep, steady belief. Now, let's go even deeper. Confidence is not built by big achievements. It is built by repeated evidence. And every small sentence you speak is evidence. Evidence that you are improving. Evidence that you are capable. Evidence that you are becoming fluent. So instead of chasing big results, focus on small actions. Every day. Consistently. Because small actions create big change. Now imagine where you will be after 30 days. If you speak just 10 simple sentences every day, that's 300 sentences, 300 moments of practice, 300 small wins. Do you think you will still feel the same? No. You will feel different, stronger, more confident, more comfortable, because you've built proof, and proof builds belief. Now here's the final truth. You don't become confident by thinking about it. You become confident by doing small things, repeatedly. So from today, stop waiting for big progress. Stop chasing perfection. Start collecting small wins. Speak one sentence, then another, then another. I am learning. I am improving. I am becoming fluent. And one day, you will look back and realize something powerful. You didn't become fluent in one big moment. You became fluent through hundreds of small ones. And that's the secret. Let's be honest about something. You've been trying to create English from your mind, but your mind doesn't have enough real English inside it. That's why speaking feels hard, slow, unnatural, forced, because you're trying to build sentences without having enough real examples. And this is where most learners struggle. They try to invent English instead of absorbing it. Now, listen carefully. Fluency is not created. Fluency is copied and then internalized. Every fluent speaker you admire did not create their language from nothing. They listened again and again. They heard patterns. They copied sounds. They repeated expressions. And over time, those patterns became part of them. That's how natural speech is built. Not through rules, but through repetition of real language. Now think about how children learn to speak. They don't study grammar. They don't analyze sentences. They listen. They copy. They repeat. I am going. I am eating. I am playing. Again and again, until it becomes automatic. So why are you trying to learn differently? Why are you trying to think your way into fluency instead of listening your way into it? This is the shift you need to make. Stop trying to be original. Start trying to be accurate. Because accuracy comes from imitation. Now imagine this. You hear someone say, I am working on something important. Instead of just understanding it, you pause and you repeat it out loud. I am working on something important. Then again, I am working on something important. You feel the rhythm. You feel the flow. You feel how the words connect. Now something powerful is happening. You are not just learning the sentence. You are training your mouth, your ears, your brain to work together. This is how fluency is built. Now, here's where most people fail. They listen passively. They watch videos. They understand everything. But they don't repeat. They don't copy. They don't engage. So the language stays outside them. It never becomes part of them. But when you copy, you bring the language inside. You make it yours. Now let's go deeper. Why is copying so powerful? Because it gives you ready-made structures. You don't need to think, how do I say this? You already know. Because you've heard it before. You've said it before. You've practiced it before. So when the moment comes, you don't build the sentence. You recall it instantly. And that speed, that automatic recall, is what creates fluency. Now imagine this habit in your daily life. You watch a video. You hear a sentence. You pause. You repeat it. Out loud. Not once, but 3, 5 times. You copy the tone, the rhythm, the speed. You don't just say the words. You feel them. Then later, you use the same structure in your own way. I am working on something important. I am thinking about something serious. I am focusing on something new. Do you see what happened? You didn't create from nothing. You built from a pattern. And that's how real speaking works. Now, here's something important. You don't need thousands of sentences. You need a few patterns, repeated deeply. Because depth is more powerful than quantity. It's better to master 20 sentences than to know 200 and use none. So choose carefully. Listen to clear, natural English. Short sentences, real conversations. Not complicated speeches. Not advanced vocabulary. Simple, natural, repeatable, and then copy them. Every day. Now let's talk about rhythm. Because fluency is not just words. It's flow. It's how the words connect, how they move together. And you can only learn that by listening and copying, not by reading, not by memorizing rules, but by hearing real speech and repeating it again and again. Now imagine what happens after a few weeks. You've copied dozens of sentences. You've repeated them multiple times. Your mouth is trained. Your ears are trained. Your brain recognizes patterns faster. And suddenly, when you try to speak, you don't feel lost anymore. Because your mind has examples. Your voice has practice. Your confidence has grown. And speaking becomes easier, more natural, more automatic. Now here's the final truth. You don't become fluent by thinking alone. You become fluent by absorbing and repeating real language. So from today, change how you learn. Don't just listen. Copy. Don't just understand. Repeat. Don't just watch. Practice. Use the pattern. I am listening. I am repeating. I am speaking. Because every sentence you copy is becoming part of you. Every repetition is building your fluency. And one day, you won't need to copy anymore because the language will already be inside you. Ready, natural, effortless. There is something subtle but powerful happening every time you try to speak English. And most people never notice it. It's not your words that are the problem. It's your state. The moment you decide to speak, your body changes. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your mind starts racing. And suddenly, you're not just speaking English. You're fighting pressure. You're fighting fear. You're fighting yourself. And in that state, even simple sentences feel difficult. Words you already know disappear. Sentences you practiced break. Confidence you thought you had fades. Why? Because your mind is not calm. And when your mind is not calm, your language cannot flow. This is something many learners misunderstand. They think fluency is about knowledge. But in real conversations, fluency is about control. Control of your thoughts. Control of your emotions. Control of your pace. Now listen carefully. Calm people sound confident, not because they know more words, but because they create space between thoughts. They don't rush. They don't panic. They allow their sentences to form naturally. And that calmness becomes their power. Now imagine this. You are in a conversation. Someone asks you something. Before, you would rush to answer. You would try to speak fast. You would push your words out quickly, afraid of silence, afraid of being judged. And because of that, your speech becomes messy, unclear, broken. But now, you do something different. You pause, just for a moment. You breathe. And then you speak. Slowly. I am thinking about your question. I am trying to explain this clearly. Notice the difference. You are not rushing. You are controlling the moment. And that control makes your speech stronger, clearer, more confident. Now here's something powerful. Speed does not create fluency. Calmness does. When you rush, you lose clarity. When you rush, you make more mistakes. When you rush, you feel out of control. But when you slow down, everything improves. Your pronunciation becomes clearer. Your thoughts become organized. Your sentences become smoother. And your confidence rises because you feel in control. Now let's go deeper. Why do you rush when speaking English? Because of pressure. You feel like you need to respond quickly. You feel like silence is bad. You feel like if you don't speak fast, people will judge you. But here's the truth. Silence is not your enemy. Silence is your advantage. A small pause makes you look thoughtful. A calm response makes you sound confident. And a steady voice makes people trust you more. So instead of fearing silence, use it, own it, control it. Now imagine speaking like this. You don't rush. You don't panic. You take your time. You choose your words. You speak clearly. Even if your English is simple, it sounds powerful because your delivery is strong. And people don't just listen to your words. They feel your presence. That's the difference calmness creates. Now, here's something important. Calmness is not natural at first. It is practiced. You need to train it, just like speaking. So start small. When you practice alone, slow down your speech. Don't rush through sentences. Say them clearly. I am speaking slowly. I am focusing on my words. I am staying calm. Feel your breath. Feel your voice. Stay present. Because the more you practice calm speaking, the more natural it becomes. And when you enter real conversations, that habit stays with you. Now, imagine this transformation. Before, you felt nervous. You rushed. You stumbled. You lost your words. But now, you stay calm. You pause. You speak with control. And even if you make mistakes, they don't affect you. Because your state is steady. And when your state is steady, your confidence becomes unshakable. Now here's the final truth. Fluency is not just about what you say. It's about how you say it. And how you say it comes from your state. So from today, don't just practice English. Practice calmness. Slow down. Breathe. Speak with control. I am calm. I am speaking clearly. I am in control. Because when you master calmness, you don't just sound fluent. You sound powerful. And that power changes everything. There is a silent pressure inside you. A pressure you feel every time you try to speak English. You don't just want to speak. You want to speak perfectly. Perfect grammar. Perfect words. Perfect pronunciation. And because of that, you hesitate. You pause. You overthink. You hold your words back until they feel right. But here's the truth that will change everything. Perfection is not helping you. It is controlling you. Because while you are trying to be perfect, you are not communicating. You are not expressing. You are not moving. You are stuck. Now think about this. What is the real purpose of language? Is it to be perfect? Or is it to connect? To share ideas? To express thoughts? To understand and be understood? That's communication. And communication does not require perfection. Now imagine this situation. You want to say something simple. Maybe you want to say, I am tired because I worked a lot today. But your mind starts thinking, is this correct? Should I use worked or have worked. What if I make a mistake? And because of that, you don't say anything, or you say something very little, or you avoid speaking completely. This is the cost of perfection. It steals your voice. It blocks your expression. It keeps you silent. Now imagine a different approach. You don't aim for perfect. You aim for clear. You say, I am tired. I worked a lot today. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not advanced, but it communicates. And that's what matters. Because the person understands you. The message is delivered. The connection is made. That is success. Now listen carefully. Fluency is not about perfect sentences. Fluency is about continuous communication. The ability to keep expressing. Even when your English is not perfect. Even when your words are simple. Even when your grammar is not exact. Because real conversations are not perfect. Even native speakers make mistakes. They pause. They repeat. They correct themselves. But they keep talking. They keep expressing. They keep communicating. And that's why they sound fluent. Not because they are perfect, but because they don't stop. Now let's go deeper. Why do you focus so much on perfection? Because you've been trained that way. In school, you were corrected for every mistake. You were told to be accurate, to follow rules, to avoid errors. And slowly, you developed a fear of being wrong, a fear of being judged, a fear of not being good enough. But real communication doesn't work like that. In real life, people don't expect you to be perfect. They expect you to be understandable. They care about your message, not your grammar. So the question you need to ask yourself is, am I trying to be perfect? Or am I trying to communicate? Because those are two very different goals. And only one of them leads to fluency. Now imagine this shift happening inside you. You stop chasing perfection. You stop correcting every word. You stop judging yourself. And instead, you focus on expressing your idea. You speak more freely. You speak more often. You speak with less fear. And slowly, something changes. Your confidence grows. Your flow improves. Your sentences become better. Without forcing them. Because improvement comes from use, not from silence. Now here's something powerful. Perfection comes after communication, not before it. First, you speak. Then, you improve. But if you wait to be perfect before speaking, you never begin. Now think about your daily practice. Instead of trying to build perfect sentences, just express your thoughts. I am learning. I am trying to speak. I am understanding slowly, even if it feels simple, even if it feels imperfect. Say it, because every time you express something, you are building fluency. Now imagine doing this every day, speaking freely, without fear, without pressure, without perfection. Day by day, your English improves, naturally, because you are using it, because you are living it, because you are communicating. And one day, you will notice something powerful. Your sentences are better. Your words are clearer. Your confidence is stronger. And it happened without chasing perfection, because you focused on what truly matters, communication. Now here's the final truth. People don't remember your mistakes. They remember your message. So stop trying to be perfect. Start trying to be understood. Speak. Express. Connect. I am sharing my thoughts. I am communicating clearly. I am becoming fluent. Because fluency is not built in silence. It is built in expression. And expression begins the moment you let go of perfection. Let me show you something powerful. Something you are already doing, but not using correctly. Right now, even when you are silent, your mind is not silent. You are thinking constantly about your life, your plans, your problems, your future. Your mind is always active, always speaking. But here's the problem. You are thinking in your native language all day, every day. And because of that, your English stays separate. It stays outside your thinking system. So when it's time to speak English, it feels unnatural, slow, disconnected. Because your brain is not used to thinking in it. Now listen carefully. Fluency does not begin when you speak. Fluency begins when you think. Because speaking is just the result of thinking. If your thoughts are in your native language, your speech will always depend on translation. And translation will always slow you down. But if your thoughts are in English, your speech becomes direct, instant, natural. Now imagine this shift. You don't wait for someone to talk to you. You don't wait for a classroom. You don't wait for the right moment. You start practicing inside your mind, all the time, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. You are walking. I am walking. I am going somewhere. I am thinking about my day. You are sitting. I am sitting here. I am feeling relaxed. I am watching people. You are thinking about something. I am worried about this. I am trying to solve this. I am understanding slowly. Do you see what's happening? You are turning your thoughts into English, without speaking, without pressure, without fear. This is one of the most powerful habits you can build, because it changes your brain. It trains your mind to operate in English, not just understand it, but live in it. Now here's why this works so deeply. When you practice in your mind, you remove the biggest barrier, fear of judgment. There is no one watching you, no one correcting you, no one judging your mistakes. So your thoughts become free. And when your thoughts are free, your language becomes natural. Now imagine doing this every day, from morning to night. Small thoughts, simple sentence, continuous flow. At first, it will feel strange. Your mind will go back to your native language, again and again. But don't fight it. Just bring it back. I am thinking. I am practicing. I am trying. Slowly, your brain adapts. It starts choosing English automatically, without effort, without force. And this is where something powerful happens. You are no longer learning English. You are living in English. Now, let's go deeper. Why do most learners ignore this method? Because it feels too simple, too easy, too quiet. They think, this is not real practice. But the truth is, this is the most consistent practice you can have. Because you don't need time. You don't need tools. You don't need energy. You just need awareness. And your mind does the rest. Now imagine this advantage. Even when you are busy, even when you are tired, even when you are alone, you are still practicing. Because your mind is always active. And every thought becomes an opportunity to build fluency. Now here's something powerful. The more you think in English, the less you need to translate. And the less you translate, the faster you speak, the more natural you sound, the more confident you feel, because your thoughts and your speech are now connected. Now imagine a real conversation. Someone asks you something. Before, you would panic, you would translate, you would hesitate. But now, your mind is already in English. So you respond. Naturally. I am thinking. I am answering. I am explaining. No delay. No confusion. Just flow. Because you trained your mind before the moment arrived. And that's the secret. Fluency is built before you speak, not during. Now here's the final truth. You don't need more time to practice. You need to use the time you already have differently. Your thoughts are always there. Your mind is always active. So use it. Train it. Guide it. I am thinking in English. I am improving every moment. I am becoming fluent. Because the more you practice in your mind, the more natural speaking becomes. And one day, you will realize something powerful. You are not trying to think in English anymore. You just are. And when that happens, fluency is no longer a goal. It becomes your reality. Let me tell you something that can completely change how you learn English. Right now, you think English is something you practice, something you do at a specific time, in a specific place, with a specific method. You open a video, you study for a while, then you close it, and English disappears from your life. This is why progress feels slow. Because your practice is limited, disconnected, short. You are stepping into English and then stepping out of it again. But fluent speakers don't live like that. For them, English is not a subject. It is part of their life. It is something they use without thinking about it. And that's the shift you need to make. You don't need more study time. You need more English moments. Moments where English becomes part of what you're already doing. Not something extra, but something integrated. Now imagine this. Instead of separating your life and your English, you merge them. You turn everything you do into English. You wake up. I am waking up. I am feeling tired. I am starting my day. You walk to another room. I am walking. I am going inside. I am looking around. You pick up your phone. I am opening my phone. I am checking something. I am reading. You eat. I am eating. I am feeling hungry. I am enjoying this. Do you see what's happening? You are not finding time to practice. You are creating practice everywhere. Every action becomes language. Every moment becomes training. Every experience becomes English. And this changes everything. Because now, you are no longer a learner. You are a user. Now let's go deeper. Why is this method so powerful? Because it removes effort. You don't need to think, when should I practice? You are always practicing. Because you are always doing something. And every action is an opportunity. Now imagine your entire day like this. Morning to night. Simple thoughts. Simple sentence. Constant exposure. Constant repetition. Your brain doesn't get a break from English. And because of that, it adapts faster, stronger, deeper. Because repetition is everywhere. Now here's something important. Most learners think they need advanced sentences, complex structures, big vocabulary. But that's not what builds fluency. What builds fluency is frequency. How often you use English, not how advanced it is. So even if your sentences are simple, if you use them all day, you will improve faster than someone who studies complex English once a day. Because your brain learns through use, through repetition, through real connection. Now imagine this shift happening in your mind. Before, English felt like work, something heavy, something you had to force. But now, it feels natural because it's part of your life. You don't sit down to study. You just live. And English comes with it. Now let's go even deeper. This method does something powerful to your thinking. It removes the gap between your actions and your language. Before, you do something. Then you try to describe it later. That creates delay, confusion, translation. But now, you describe it as it happens. In real time. I am walking. I am thinking. I am doing this. And because of that, your brain connects faster. Your thoughts become clearer. Your speech becomes immediate. This is how you build automatic thinking. Now imagine a conversation. Someone asks you something simple. Before, you would struggle because your brain is not used to expressing real-life actions in English. But now, you've been doing it all day. So you respond naturally. Because it's familiar. Because you've practiced it in real situations. And that familiarity creates confidence. Now here's something most people miss. Consistency doesn't come from discipline. It comes from design. If you design your day to include English in everything, you don't need motivation. You don't need reminders. It just happens. Because it's built into your life. Now imagine where this takes you. After a few days, you notice small changes. You think faster. You remember words more easily. You feel more comfortable. After a few weeks, you notice something bigger. You start thinking in English automatically. You don't need to force it. It just happens. And after some time, you realize something powerful. English is no longer separate from you. It is part of you. Now here's the final truth. You don't become fluent by practicing English sometimes. You become fluent by living English all the time. So from today, stop treating English like a task. Stop limiting it to study sessions. Turn everything into English. Your actions, your thoughts, your daily life. I am living in English. I am using English every moment. I am becoming fluent. Because when English becomes part of your life, fluency is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you live. And once you live it, you never lose it. Let's slow down for a moment and be completely honest. You've tried before. You've started learning English. You felt motivated. You practiced for a few days, maybe a few weeks. And then something happened. Progress felt slow. Results didn't come fast enough. You started doubting yourself. Why am I not improving? Why is this still difficult? Maybe I'm not good at this. And slowly, you lost momentum. You stopped. Not because you couldn't learn, but because you didn't see results fast enough. This is where most learners fail. Not in effort, not in ability, but in patience. Because the truth is, fluency is not a quick result. It is a slow transformation. And if you don't trust the process, you will quit before it works. Now listen carefully. Everything you are doing right now, speaking simple sentences, repeating patterns, thinking in English, using your voice, it may feel small. It may feel like nothing is changing, but something is happening, quietly, deep inside your brain. Connections are forming, patterns are strengthening, habits are building. You just can't see it yet, because real progress is invisible at the beginning. Now imagine planting a seed. You put it in the ground. You water it. You wait. Day 1, nothing. Day 5, nothing. Day 10, still nothing. And if you don't understand the process, you might think, this is not working, and you stop watering it. You give up. But the truth is, the seed was growing under the surface, where you couldn't see it. And the same thing is happening with your English. Every sentence you speak, every thought you form, every time you push past hesitation, you are growing, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if it doesn't show immediately. Now here's the danger. If you keep changing your method, jumping from one technique to another, starting and stopping again and again, you never give the process time to work. You keep digging up the seed to check if it's growing. And because of that, it never does. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to do everything. You just need to keep doing something every day, even when it feels slow, even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels like nothing is happening, because something is happening. You just don't see it yet. Now imagine this. You commit, not for a day, not for a week, but for real. You speak daily. You think in English. You use the pattern. I am learning. I am improving. I am becoming fluent, day after day, without stopping, without doubting, without quitting. At first, it feels the same. No big change, no dramatic result. But then, something shifts. You respond faster. You hesitate less. You remember words more easily. And you don't even know when it started. Because the change was gradual, silent, natural. And suddenly, you realize, I can speak, not perfectly, but freely, not fluently like a native, but confidently like yourself. And that is real progress. Now here's something powerful. Fluency is not a moment. It is a result of many small moments. Moments where you chose to speak, even when it was uncomfortable. Moments where you practiced, even when you didn't feel like it. Moments where you continued, even when you doubted yourself. And all those moments built something strong, something real. Now let's go deeper. The biggest challenge is not learning English. It is staying consistent when results are invisible. It is trusting something before it shows you proof. But that is what separates those who succeed from those who quit. The ones who succeed, they keep going, even when it's boring, even when it's slow, even when it's hard, because they trust the process. And eventually, the process rewards them. Now here's the shift you need to make. Stop asking, how fast can I become fluent? Start asking, can I stay consistent long enough? Because speed doesn't matter. Consistency does. Now imagine your future. You didn't quit. You didn't stop. You didn't lose belief. You kept going. Simple sentence. Daily practice. Real effort. And now, you speak. You understand. You express yourself. Not because you found a shortcut, but because you stayed on the path. Now here's the final truth. Fluency is not for the smartest. It is for the most consistent. So trust what you're doing. Trust your effort. Trust your growth. Even when you can't see it. I am trusting the process. I am improving every day. I am becoming fluent. Because one day, all the small things you did will come together, and you won't need motivation anymore. You won't need confidence anymore, because you will already have it. And you will realize something powerful. You didn't just learn English. You became someone who never gave up. And that is the real transformation. Now stop for a moment and think about what you've learned today. Not complicated grammar, not difficult rules, just one simple pattern, used again and again, until it becomes part of you. This is how fluency is built. Not in one day, not in one big moment, but in small actions, repeated daily. So from today, don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to be perfect. Just speak. I am learning. I am trying. I am becoming fluent. Even if it's slow, even if it's simple, even if it's not perfect. Because every sentence you speak is breaking your fear, is building your confidence, is moving you forward. And one day, you won't realize when it happened, but you will be speaking English. Naturally, confidently, without thinking. So keep going. Stay consistent. And trust the process. Because fluency is not something far away. It's something you're building right now. And if you've made it this far, you're already closer than you think.